Well, Adam, you've been out in Taiwan. Now you're in Japan. You were in Taiwan for the election. And I have to say, Taiwan elections, I've watched a number of videos. I haven't actually watched it on the ground, but I've watched kind of video of the actual tabulation of the voting happening. And it's this incredible community event. It's wildly transparent. And I just think, probably we could learn a lot from this. So why don't we actually start there?
Sure, I did have that thought when I was on the ground, is that Americans should actually be jealous of the Taiwanese election process, the entire spirit around it, as well as the technicalities of how they do it. And yes, I will do the actual motion, which is like this. They always do, because literally they hold the piece of paper, they look up like this, they have observers. That's how the ballot is counted. They use paper, they use a pencil. Not only that, they have to show up at their precise precinct where they receive a notice in the mail to come to a very specific location. If they're, it has to be in their hometown. If they're away, we had a guide helping us out in Taipei, the capital and the largest city. His hometown was way down south in Taiwan, so he at some point during the day hopped a train, high speed rail, which they have a nice train, but it still takes about 3 hours to get all the way down south, and he voted in his home district. Not only within Taiwan, if you are stationed overseas, if you're working overseas, for any reason, you physically have to come back. So there's an absolute regrouping of Taiwanese expatriates from the US, from Japan, from wherever they are. Uh, Now, part of that actually, they told me, is because you've got tens of thousands of Taiwanese businessmen who are in China, because it's sort of unavoidable for them to do business with China. They're so physically close. And in the decades preceding the more authoritarian Xi regime, a lot of them went there on business, and some of them still remain. It's certainly a recognition that the malign influence of the CCP is there, and they will not take chances with remote voting from mainland China. They want to see that piece of paper in their hand.
Well, and there's a few things here. One of them is also that you need, if you want to participate in the process, you have to go back. I don't know if that's necessarily, absolute for the US or Canada or something like that, but you can see how that helps you kind of reconnect, right, with your country and your community. You have to go to your actual community. That it's very interesting. And the thing that kind of strikes me about it is also that the vote counting, it's an event. Like people come out all, of all ages and they're watching, and it's actually like a kind of a big spectacle of sorts.
Absolutely. Well, as foreigners, we were on a delegation, a small delegation of four. I had my colleague, the chair of our China Policy Initiative at AFPI, Steve Yates, was leading the delegation. We had a journalist, we had a pollster, and we were able to see a great deal. We were able to get into the party headquarters, but on the actual election day, we weren't able to get into the precinct. But we did watch with a group of Taiwanese citizens the returns come in, again, to emphasize the fact that the returns came in and they were counted and complete by 8 or 8:30 p.m. on the night of the event. But what we did get to witness, as far as how the average people experience their elections, we went to a rally of the DPP, which has been the ruling party for 8 years and now will be for another 4 years, because their candidate did win the presidency. And they claimed there was 100,000 people there. I don't know about that, but it was a full stadium, a mid-sized stadium, maybe 40 to 50,000 people. In any case, it was very impressive. They're not quite as rowdy as an American audience. It's a different culture. Everyone is sort of focused on the same thing. There are sort of these parameters. It almost feels like each candidate is sort of a trained announcer. It's like a show. It's a real almost choreographed show. And actually, when we first arrived, we were able to visit the DPP headquarters. Their theme was Team Taiwan. And actually, they had the English letters on these jerseys, and it was a baseball theme. And basically, in their headquarters was a big baseball diamond. And they had all these screens going, and they had themed t shirts. They had these erasers that they came up and handed to us and said, "This is to erase Chinese disinformation." It's a very vigorous and real engagement by the public, for sure.